Okay, Mr.
A team of journalists in conversation with Reverend Kollie. Reverend, welcome to our microphone.
Yes, good afternoon, my brothers, and good afternoon, my fellow Liberians. Yes.
There is this frequent wave of female molestation. Recently, we have, a female was molested in a hotel, a local hotel in Monrovia, and there was this other case, another recent case that unfolded in Monrovia, also as it relates to the same old thing. What's your own view with respect to this, frequent wave of female being humiliated by their male counterpart?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for granting us this interview. As you know, President Fellowship Liberia is a civil society organization, basically focused on human rights and access to justice. Over the years, PF have worked to promote the rights of women, the right of children, the right of the marginalized, like I say, including women, and children. And Liberia, being part of the global body, and our government being signatory to uh, the very declarations of human rights, I think with what is unfolding in our country, Liberia need to revisit some of those very treaties and laws and those domestic law that we have, and international laws and treaties that we are signatory to, because I think Liberia is quite violating, and Liberians are violating those international laws that are binding
You mean some
on
of
us. Yes, because the right of female, the protection,
yeah.
of females under our laws. All females need to be protected. And of course, talk about gender equity, and I don't know why Liberians, especially the male counterpart, are taking disadvantage. I mean, advantage over their female counterpart. So, with this realm of killing, abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence
Yeah.
against our women in the country, I think, I mean, it's quite unacceptable. Because it is just quite disheartening. You had over a year, 2 years ago, you had a female president who, in my mind, should have done in her possible best, to eradicate this violence against women, domestic violence against women, raped, and even leading to the death of some women. I thought she would have done so well to eradicate that before even her tenure ended. And then you have the current regime whose vice president is also a female, and so we also think that the uh, the lack of willpower is hampering the full implementations of some of these laws. We think that the vice president, and she is a female, she should be even advocating more for our female gender, because it seems to me that there's quite blind eyes, coming from the very female leaders, because, like I said, the former president, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, I don't think whether she was a female president, she would have done more than what people are talking about. Now the vice president is a female. You have the gender ministry is a female. I mean, they shouldn't wait for international community to talk. Or
You think the female leaders of our country are not doing?
in my mind, the female leaders of our country, they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, to protect, to advocate for their, fellow females, colleagues, because I mean, the crime against the female population is alarming. When you talk about rape, it's quite alarming. You talk about domestic violence, it's alarming. I mean, and you have these female leaders, in positions, minister, deputy minister, vice president in the Senate, and all of that. So why should this thing happen?
Perhaps the central government is not taking control of this.
Yeah, but I think the essence of this gender equity, this 40% or even 20%,
Yeah.
and let me just, because I think We are degenerating. Instead of promoting gender equity in Liberia, I think we are regenerating. You have the president who was a female, and then so I'd expect even this term maybe a female to have, a female to have assumed leadership, as a president. I mean, in the presidency, then we are talking about female being in power. Then after that, then you have a female coming as vice president. So I think they are demoting, gender advocates of gender and gender equity. We expect a female to take lead. I mean, since we had a female president, so forth. So yeah, the central government had their own weaknesses as well. But I think the female leaders need to need to hold central government to account and put their feet on the fire so that they'll be able to protect, protect women across Liberia.
Wow. Okay. Now, you just made a salient point that central government had a particular role to kind of
Yeah.
encourage the women leaders of our country to do more instead of carrying on some awareness and other things and helping some of the females that are in dying need.
Yeah.
Now, but let me bring you now to some other political issues that is ongoing in Liberia. Recently, we have one of the biggest protests since the end of our civil crisis, and there is this lot of praises for Liberians because some of them went on the streets and then they conducted themselves so peacefully. And we had the government also being commended for, some level of protection for the protesters. What is your own view as it relates to our country's democracy since the end of the civil crisis?
In my mind, again, as a human rights activist, I think Liberia, the future of Liberia and the peace of Liberia is threatening. It's threatening because when justice is being denied, when justice is being delayed, when justice is not being assessed, then of course you're going to have people taking justice in their own hands. And that is what is happening in Liberia, because in our own work as we interact with the various sectors, we think justice has been denied for the elites, for the poor people. Justice being delayed, justice has not been accessed.
When you say justice, what are you
we're talking about access to justice, right? People are not having their rights to be protected. People, there are crimes that are committed, police take ever to even investigate those crimes. Police cannot let the public know what are the outcomes of those investigations. And so when there are speculations, especially coming from the public, they begin to mistrust, mistrust the police and mistrust the government, and that is even the judiciary. So they're going to take laws into their hands, into their own hands. And I think that's where Liberia is dragging into, because Liberians have been crying for justice. We have told you over and over, one of the things that will bring peace in Liberia, it is the setting up of the war and economic crime courts in Liberia. If we set up that, all these things that we see happening around, where people are taking law in their hand, where people are boasting of killing thousands of Liberians and they're still going free, I think we will have some quite soundness of peace in Liberia. So if you saw the people, the masses of thousands of people that went on the street. Yes, they were just exercising their right. That was their constitutional right. We have called for a dialogue. We encouraged the president to call for a dialogue, and it was not a win. It was not about who wins, who loses, or so forth. But it should be a win and win issue. So the president called for dialogue. Well, someone will say the president called for a dialogue and requested for petitioner to present the petition. I don't think when you're calling for a dialogue, it should not be as a demand that you must do this and so on. What it should be, what is the problem? Let's sit around the table, let's discuss it. So now that the president is calling for dialogue, I think it's in the right directions. One, there is not there's no selfish motive behind it, whether from the president or his inner cycles that are around him. I think the president be well if we can just hold. We, the civil society organizations, we are open to dialogue, and we want to just tell the president this is how we think we can run the country.
So what are some of those things you want to present to the president?
Well, if we have to have a dialogue to the president, the first thing is you need to reconcile this country. The country is divided. divided. And I said this the other day. The judiciary is divided from the executive. The executive is divided from for the judiciary and the House of Representatives, the legislature. So there is this disjoint, among the three branches of government, right? The three branches of government. There is no cohesiveness among the three branches of government. The executives think it different. The legislature think it different. The judiciary think it different. So there's this divide, and if there is a divide in those three branches of government, then of course the entire country is going to be divided. So the president and his colleagues, whoever are around him, need to work hard to reconcile this country. Our presidency have failed. Charles Taylor failed to reconcile this country. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, well, you could say Charles Taylor tried a little bit, but I could say in my mind he failed. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf failed as well to reconcile this country. She became a president. Yes, she had the support from international community and Liberians as well, but she failed to reconcile this country. George Weah should not fail to reconcile Liberians. If George Weah failed to reconcile Liberia, I tell you, you are going back to war in the next few years to come by. If there's no reconciliation, I'm talking about genuine reconciliation. I'm not talking about just taking people from the opposition and give them a job. No, they can come to that job and still have different mind. They are still hurt. They are in a job, but they are on a job, but they are hurt. Their mother died, their father died. There's no accountability. Their property was destroyed. They are still there, and that's why I contributed to the large amount of stealing and corruption, because those people that have lost their properties in the war, so they are trying to regain those by acts of are not are unethical for them. I don't support it though, but these are things that within Liberia and the leaders of Liberia should to pursue.
In your words, general reconciliation begins from the establishment of the war and economic crimes.
Yeah, that's one.